All right, so today we're diving into something a little different, a little maybe bittersweet,
Oh.
but super interesting. We're going to be taking a look at businesses that, well, they didn't make it.
Ah, the ones that faded away.
Exactly. And we're going to be exploring how AI and automation,
Oh.
all the stuff we talk about, how that might have actually,
Change their fate.
yeah, changed their fate
Okay.
potentially. So we've got this article here called 50 Brands That Failed to Innovate. It's pretty wild to see.
Oh, I can imagine. There's some big names on that list, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Kodak, Nokia, Blockbuster.
Wow, blasts from the
Well,
past.
right. So to help us break all this down, we've got our expert here who's going to give us those insights into, you know,
The what ifs and the could have beens.
exactly.
It's always fascinating to dissect these stories and see where things might have gone differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start with a classic example. I mean, who doesn't remember Kodak? Those yellow boxes of film.
Oh, yeah, iconic.
Right. But here's the thing. They actually invented the first digital camera,
It's almost unbelievable, isn't it? They had the technology right there in their hands.
and they didn't see it coming, or they didn't want to see it, I guess.
I think it was a bit of both. They were so focused on their existing film business, their empire, that they kind of missed the shift.
It's like they were blinded by their own success.
In a way, yes. And that's where AI could have played a huge role. Imagine if they had used AI-powered market analysis back then.
Like, how would that have actually helped them?
Well, they could have analyzed online conversations, early internet forums, social media trends.
To see what people were actually saying.
Exactly. They could have gauged public sentiment about digital photography, tracked search engine data, seeing how interest in digital cameras was growing.
So basically, they could have had like early warning signs.
Yeah, it would have been like a crystal ball showing them the future.
Instead of, clinging to film, they could become leaders in the digital revolution.
It's a classic example of how AI can help businesses anticipate change rather than just reacting to it when it's too late.
All right, so let's shift gears for a second and think about Friday nights, renting movies.
Ah, blockbuster days.
Remember those? You'd spend hours browsing the aisles trying to pick a movie.
Yeah, sometimes you just end up leaving empty-handed because nothing caught your eye.
Or you'd get there and the movie you wanted was already rented out. It was a whole thing.
And then Netflix came along and changed the game completely.
They just completely disrupted the whole industry, didn't they? First with mail-order DVDs and then streaming.
Convenience and personalization, that's what they nailed.
Exactly. But, Blockbuster had the brand recognition. They had those stores everywhere. They had the customer base.
They just didn't adapt fast enough.
So let's say Blockbuster had this time machine, and they went back and implemented AI. What could they have done?
Think about this.
Yeah.
What if they had an AI-powered recommendation engine like Netflix?
Okay, so instead of just those new releases shelves.
Exactly. You walk into Blockbuster and you've got personalized recommendations based on your past rentals.
That's actually really cool. I mean, it was saved so much time and probably led to discovering new movies.
Right. It's like having your own personal movie concierge. They could have used AI to learn your taste, keep you engaged.
Just like Netflix does.
It could have made the whole Blockbuster experience so much more appealing.
And who knows, maybe they would have given Netflix a run for their money.
It's definitely an interesting what-if scenario to consider.
So we've seen how AI could help companies adapt to these big technological shifts.
Yeah, like Kodak with digital photography and Blockbuster with streaming.
But what about companies that were just slow to embrace e-commerce? I'm talking about those retail giants like Sears and JCPenney.
Those were the OG department stores, weren't they? Everything you could possibly need under one roof.
But then online shopping came along, and they just didn't seem to get it.
They were slow to adapt, the websites were clunky, and the whole online shopping experience felt like a chore compared to Amazon.
It's like they were stuck in the past while the world was moving online.
Now imagine if they had embraced AI-powered chatbots.
Okay, so instead of calling customer service and waiting on hold forever.
Exactly. You could get your questions answered instantly, resolve issues, and even get guided through your online purchase.
It's like having a helpful assistant available 24/7.
And on the back end, AI-powered inventory management could have kept products in stock and deliveries running smoothly.
So no more out-of-stock messages or those long shipping delays.
They could have used AI to create a seamless and enjoyable online shopping experience, just like their competitors.
It's amazing to think how AI could have addressed those pain points that drove customers away from traditional retail.
And potentially save these companies from fading away.
It's a powerful reminder that even the biggest and most successful companies need to adapt and innovate to survive in this ever-changing world.
Absolutely. And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, you know what's a game changer for businesses today? AI employees.
Yeah, we've talked about those before, but remind us again what's so special about them.
Well, think of them as your virtual workforce, ready to tackle all those tasks that are slowing you down.
Like data entry, scheduling appointments, even creating content.
Exactly. And the best part is you can upgrade to get your own AI employee completely free until December 31st.
That's right, F-Free E. It's an incredible opportunity to experiment with the power of AI and see how it can transform your business operations.
And if you want to learn even more about harnessing the power of AI, make sure to check out the free GHL Bootcamp.
It includes awesome bonuses and 30 days of free access to their software. All the details are in the episode description.
Don't miss out on this.
All right, so we've talked about AI helping companies adapt to technological shifts and embrace e-commerce.
Right. But failing to innovate doesn't always mean ignoring technology altogether.
That's an interesting point. So are you saying some companies innovated in the wrong direction?
In a way, yes. Think about Motorola and BlackBerry. They were pioneers in mobile phones.
Oh yeah, those were the cool phones to have back in the day.
Right. They pushed the boundaries of hardware innovation.
They were known for those indestructible phones, right? You could drop them and they'd still work.
Exactly. But they missed the crucial shift towards user-friendly software and app ecosystems.
So while Apple and Android were focusing on sleek designs and intuitive operating systems,
Motorola and BlackBerry's software felt clunky and limited.
it's like they were stuck in the hardware era while the world was moving towards software.
Imagine using a smartphone today with a limited app selection and a frustrating interface.
You would be a completely different experience.
This is where AI-powered software development could have made a huge difference.
So how could they have used AI to improve their software?
They could have analyzed user data, identified pain points in their operating system.
To see what people were actually struggling with.
Exactly, and then
Yeah.
use that information to develop more intuitive and feature-rich software.
They could have created a more seamless and enjoyable mobile experience, just like their competitors.
It's all about understanding what users want and using AI to deliver it.
So we've seen how AI could have helped companies adapt to technological shifts, embrace e-commerce.
And even improve their software.
But what about companies that just completely miss the mark with their products or services? Like, they had a great idea, but it just didn't resonate with consumers.
You're talking about those innovations that flopped despite the hype.
Exactly. Like, remember Segway?
Yeah.
Those two-wheeled, self-balancing scooters.
Oh, yeah, they were supposed to revolutionize personal transportation.
They were pretty cool, in theory. But they never really took off, did they?
They faced several hurdles, including safety concerns, a high price point,
And they kind of looked a little bit, well, dorky.
maybe a little, but I think the biggest problem was that they didn't really solve a pressing need for most people.
It was like a solution looking for a problem.
Exactly. Now, imagine if Segway had utilized AI to gather data on urban mobility patterns.
So they could understand how people actually move around cities,
Yes, they could see what the pain points were, where the real needs lay.
and then use that data to refine their design,
Yeah.
maybe create different versions for different use cases.
Precisely. A smaller, more agile Segway for crowded sidewalks, a heavier-duty version for deliveries.
They could have made it more practical and appealing to a wider audience.
It's all about using data-driven insights to guide your innovation.
All right, let's move on to another company that was once a major player. Hitachi.
Ah, yes, Hitachi. They were a powerhouse in the electronics industry.
Alongside giants like Sony and Panasonic.
They produced everything from TVs to computers to home appliances.
But they struggled to keep up with the rapidly evolving consumer electronics market.
TVs became slimmer, smartphones replaced dedicated music players, everything became interconnected.
It seems like they got a little lost in all that change.
In a way, yes. They were still producing high-quality electronics, but they weren't as agile or innovative as their competitors.
So what could they have done differently? How could AI have helped them?
Imagine if they had embraced AI-powered manufacturing and design.
Okay, break that down for me. How would that have actually worked?
AI could have optimized their production processes, made them more efficient and cost-effective.
So they could produce more with less waste.
Exactly. And AI could have also analyzed consumer data to identify those emerging trends and preferences,
So they could design products that people actually wanted.
instead of just producing the same old TVs and stereos. They could have been at the forefront of smart home technology, wearable devices, all those innovations that were taking off.
It's amazing to think about the possibilities.
And that's the key takeaway here. AI and automation aren't just about automating tasks or making things cheaper.
It's about unlocking entirely new possibilities, enabling companies to innovate in ways they never could before.
It's like having a secret weapon in the innovation arms race.
But as we've seen, even most powerful tools are useless if you don't know how to wield them.
It all comes back to leadership, vision, and a willingness to embrace change, even if it means disrupting your own successful business model.
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, if you were running one of these companies, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently?
That's a great question to ponder. It really makes you think about the choices we make and the impact they can have on the future.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today, and I'm already starting to see some patterns emerging.
Oh, yeah. What kind of patterns?
Well, it seems like a lot of these companies failed to anticipate those big technological shifts, or they were just too slow to adapt to changing consumer preferences.
That's definitely a common theme, and it highlights the importance of staying agile and constantly innovating.
But we've also seen how AI and automation could potentially change their fate, giving them a fighting chance.
It's a reminder that these technologies can be incredibly powerful tools for innovation.
But it's not enough to just have the tools. You need to know how to use them effectively.
That's where vision, leadership, and a willingness to embrace change come into play.
Right, so we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be diving into even more examples of companies that failed to innovate.
And we'll explore how AI and automation could potentially rewritten their stories.
So stay tuned.
It makes you wonder, are there any businesses out there that are like totally immune to this?
Right, like are there any companies that just have it figured out and they're never going to fail?
That's a tough question. I mean, in today's world, things change so quickly.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to predict what the future holds.
Exactly. But there are definitely companies that are more adaptable, more innovative, and more willing to embrace change.
And those are the ones that are more likely to succeed in the long run.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating. We can learn a lot from these companies that failed to innovate.
It's like studying history, but for the business world.
Exactly. We can see where they went wrong, what mistakes they made, and hopefully avoid making those same mistakes ourselves.
Okay, so we've talked about AI helping companies adapt to those big technological shifts like Kodak and Blockbuster. But what about the companies that just couldn't keep up with changing consumer tastes?
So you're talking about understanding what people actually want and being able to adapt to their ever-evolving preferences.
Exactly. And I think a perfect example of this is Toys R Us. I mean, they were the ultimate destination for toys.
Oh yeah, Toys R Us, it was like a magical wonderland for kids.
Right, but they struggled to compete with online retailers like Amazon.
Well, Amazon offered a wider selection, competitive prices, and the convenience of shopping from home.
It's hard to argue with that, especially when you have kids. Dragging them to a giant toy store can be a real challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. But do you think Toys R Us could have leveraged AI to create a more personalized and engaging shopping experience?
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. Like, how would that work?
Well, imagine an AI-powered system that recommends toys based on a child's age, interests, and even their play style.
Okay, so instead of just wandering aimlessly through the aisles, parents could get personalized recommendations.
Exactly. It would make the shopping experience less overwhelming and more enjoyable for both parents and kids.
And they could even have AI-powered interactive displays in the store.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome. Kids could play with the toys, see how they work, and get a real feel for them before buying.
It would be a way to make the physical store experience more engaging and exciting.
And it could help Toys R Us differentiate themselves from online retailers.
So they could offer something that Amazon couldn't.
It's all about finding ways to create a unique and valuable experience for your customers.
Speaking of unique experiences, let's talk about a company that was once synonymous with innovation itself. Nokia.
Ah, Nokia. Those were the days I remember my first Nokia phone. It was indestructible.
Right. Those phones were built to last. But they missed the boat on the smartphone revolution.
They were slow to adopt the Android operating system, which quickly became the industry standard.
It's like they were trying to hold on to the past while the world was moving forward.
And that's a recipe for disaster in the tech world.
So how could AI have helped Nokia in this situation?
Well, AI-powered market analysis could have given them a heads up about the rising popularity of smartphones.
So they could have seen the trend early on and adapted their strategy.
Exactly. They could have started developing their own smartphones sooner, maybe even partnered with Google to integrate Android.
It's amazing to think how different the mobile phone landscape might look today if Nokia had made different choices.
It really highlights the importance of being aware of market trends and being willing to adapt.
Okay, so we've talked about companies that failed to adapt to technological shifts or changing consumer tastes, but what about companies that just made bad decisions?
Oh, you mean like strategic blunders or misreading the market?
Exactly. And I think a prime example of this is Borders. Remember those giant bookstores?
Oh, yeah, I loved Borders. They had such a great selection of books.
Right. But they filed for bankruptcy in 2011.
What happened? I mean, they seem to be doing well.
Well, they made a few critical mistakes. First, they partnered with Amazon to handle their online sales.
Wait, seriously, they partnered with their biggest competitor.
I know, it sounds crazy, right?
hmm
But at the time, they didn't see Amazon as a threat.
They underestimated the power of e-commerce.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, they neglected their own website and online presence.
So they were basically handing customers over to Amazon.
Pretty much. And then they made another big mistake. They started focusing on CDs and DVDs.
Trying to diversify, I guess.
Yeah. But it backfired. Those markets were also being disrupted by online retailers.
It's like they were trying to fight a losing battle on multiple fronts.
And in the end, they couldn't keep up. They closed all their stores and went out of business.
It's a sad story, but it's a valuable lesson in the importance of making smart strategic decisions.
And understanding the competitive landscape.
Absolutely. You need to know who your competitors are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and how you can differentiate yourself.
And you need to be willing to adapt and evolve as the market changes.
Otherwise, you risk becoming another cautionary tale.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today, and I'm starting to feel a little bit, well, nostalgic.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, we've been talking about all these companies that were once a big part of our lives.
Like Kodak, Blockbuster, Toys R Us.
Exactly.
Hmm,
And it's sad to see them go, but it's also a reminder that nothing lasts forever.
that's true. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. Change is inevitable, and it often brings new opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So what can we learn from all of this? What are some key takeaways for businesses today?
Well, I think the biggest lesson is that innovation is essential for survival. You can't just rest on your laurels and expect to stay on top.
You need to be constantly looking for ways to improve, to adapt, to evolve.
Exactly. And that means embracing new technologies, understanding your customers, and being willing to take risks.
And sometimes it means disrupting your own business model before someone else does it for you.
It's all about staying ahead of the curve and anticipating the future.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be wrapping up our deep dive into businesses that failed to innovate.
And we'll leave you with some final thoughts on how to avoid making the same mistakes.
So stay tuned.
Makes you think, are we all just kind of on borrowed time?
Yeah, it's a little unsettling to think about. But I guess that's the nature of business, right? Always evolving.
It's true. The only constant is change, right?
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what are some of those big lessons we can take away? Like, what can businesses today learn from these companies that, well, they didn't quite make it?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that no company is too big to fail. We've seen it time and time again.
It's like a cautionary tale for even the most successful businesses.
Exactly. And it all comes down to innovation, or rather, the lack of it.
So it's not enough to just have a great product or service.
Yeah.
You need to be constantly adapting and evolving.
Absolutely. The world is changing faster than ever before, and if you're not keeping up, you're falling behind.
And it seems like AI and automation have a big role to play in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. These technologies can help businesses in so many ways, from analyzing data to personalizing experiences to optimizing operations.
It's like having a set of tools that can help you stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. But it's not enough to just have the tools. You need to know how to use them effectively.
That's where vision and leadership come in, right?
Exactly. You need to have a clear understanding of where your business is going and how you're going to get there.
And you need to be willing to embrace change, even if it means disrupting your own business model.
It's all about staying agile and adaptable, always looking for ways to improve and innovate.
So for all those listening out there who are ready to take that next step and explore the world of AI,
Don't forget to check out the show notes for all the details on that incredible AI employee upgrade from GHL.
it's completely free until December 31st. That's a deal you can't afford to miss.
And if you really want to dive deep into the world of AI and automation,
Make sure to check out the free eGHL Bootcamp.
It includes awesome bonuses and 30 days of free access to their software. All the info you need is in the episode description.
So until next time, keep innovating, stay curious, and remember, the future belongs to those who embrace change.